Hello, welcome to the Junos configuration for Junos PyEZ Learning Byte. I'm Gordon Mosley with the Education Services Department at Juniper Networks. Let's get started. After completing this Learning Byte, you will be able to configure Junos platforms for use with Junos PyEZ. Let's start by learning what Junos PyEZ is. Junos PyEZ is a free Python library available from Juniper Networks that enables you to automate the management of Junos devices using Python. It provides similar capabilities to the Junos CLI. You can execute operational mode commands, you can manage Junos device configuration, perform software upgrades, reboot or power off devices without needing to have extensive Junos or Junos CLI knowledge. A great way to learn Junos PyEZ if you're just getting started is the Junos PyEZ Developer Guide or the Introduction to Junos Platform Automation and DevOps course from Juniper Education Services. Junos PyEZ enables you to perform Junos device management using Python. Junos PyEZ modules connect to Junos devices using one of three options, either a serial console port on the device or remotely using Telnet or the default method of a netconf over an SSH connection. It also supports connections that are initiated by a Junos device, for example, if that device is unreachable because it's behind a firewall. Before a device can be managed using Junos PyEZ, certain management services must be enabled. This example demonstrates using the set system services netconf SSH command to enable remote netconf over SSH connections by remote management clients such as Junos PyEZ. And remember, this is the default Junos PyEZ connection method. If you would like Junos PyEZ to connect using Telnet, you would enter a set system services telnet command. You can adjust ports if necessary as well. When Junos PyEZ connects to a Junos device to perform operations, it must authenticate. And so each Junos device that is going to be managed using PyEZ needs an account that can be used to authenticate those Junos PyEZ, netconf over SSH, or telnet connections. In this example, under the Edit System Login branch of a Junos device configuration, a user account named Lab is created. Now, things that are important to you here, you need to assign the user account a login class that has sufficient permissions to perform the actions that you want to using Python and Junos PyEZ. We used to call these types of accounts service accounts. Maybe you might call this the automation account, but you need to spend some time looking at some Juniper login classes. They have very granular they enable you to have very granular control over the actions that an administrator can perform once they have connected and authenticated to the device. And this example uses the super user login class, which probably gives you an idea of the permissions and the power that this account has. So this is something you want to keep tightly controlled. This account also supports two forms of authentication. It supports when this lab user connects, or when anything connects as this lab user. It can authenticate using a password, so a username and password could be provided. But it also supports, and this is probably the more common method when you're performing authentication, when you're performing automation using Junos PyEZ, is it also supports SSH public key authentication. And so there's a public key associated with this account. And this is the preferred method and the most secure method to have automation happen, right? This is without having to store a username and a password in a file, or without having an administrator provide or be prompted for a username and password when a particular Python script is run. And so this is the second part that must be configured. So we need to enable the correct management service. We also need a service account or a user account configured on all the platforms that we want to manage using Junos PyEZ. In a minute, I'm going to connect to a device, and we're going to see how this is. We're going to configure, and we're going to run some Python scripts to verify the functionality. And this is the script we're going to use for an example. And I just wanted to show this to you here in case you haven't seen Junos PyEZ before. And so this is a simple little Python script. I called it connect.py. And just let's look at a couple of things. I'm going to run this on an administrator workstation that has the Junos PyEZ libraries installed. And this is how the Junos PyEZ library is referenced in the Python interpreter and a Python script. So I'm going to import from the Junos PyEZ library the device object class. And this will represent my Junos device. And I also am going to, when I connect, I want to retrieve some facts. So you can see that we really connected and we're retrieving information from that device. So I'm going to also import the pretty print utility so we can retrieve the facts and print them on the screen. And then I'm using the Python context manager with as syntax to create the device object and associate it with this target device, right? And I want to identify it using this string. And then so I want to retrieve, once I create the device object, I can use the device method facts to retrieve the device facts. And so we're going to connect to this target host. This is a VMX device, and I want to retrieve the facts, and I want to use the pretty print module to print those facts to the screen, right? None of this will work unless I have the correct configuration present on the Junos device. So now I'm going to connect to my administrator workstation, and let's see how this works. This is my administrator workstation that has Junos PyEZ installed. Now the first step I want to take is I want to run the connect.py script that we saw previously, and I'm going to run it against a device that does not have the correct management services enabled. One thing I want you to understand about that connect.py script is for simplicity reasons, I didn't include any exception handling. And so what you're seeing here is errors related to the Python script, PyEZ, not being able to connect to that Junos device and perform its functions. So let's connect to the actual target device that's referenced in the script. This is a VMX device. And I'm going to enter configuration mode. And let's look at what is currently present in the configuration under the System Services branch. And currently I don't have Telnet enabled, and I don't have netconf over SSH enabled. So let's enable the correct services, and I'm going to enable SSH, netconf over SSH. I'm not going to bother with Telnet. And let's commit that configuration and return to operational mode. And then end our SSH session that we have with the device, and let's try to run the connect.py Python script again. Now this script is written using Python 3, but this example will work in Python 2 as well. Junos PyEZ supports both versions of Python. We should now be able to successfully connect and actually retrieve some device facts. And so as you can see, the output is a lot different than the error messages we received when we did not have the correct configuration enabled. So by enabling the correct management protocols on the Junos device, you can leverage Junos PyEZ and very simple basic Python scripts to begin automating your management of Junos platforms. In this Learning Byte, we configured Junos platforms for use with Junos PyEZ. Thank you very much.
Visit the Juniper Education Services website to learn more about courses. View our full range of classroom, online, and e-learning courses. Learning paths, industry segment and technology-specific training paths. Juniper Networks Certification Program, the ultimate demonstration of your competence. And the training community, from forums to social media. Join the discussion.